Couple of housekeeping items. As exits are marked, take a note of where they are in case of any type of emergency. You're asked to walk to the exits. We have one over on the side, and cleverly the doors that you came in also work with doors to go along with. Anybody who has any cell phones, pagers, beepers, electronic things that make noise in the night, we'd ask you to please turn them off. They are a terrible distraction for cast if something were to happen to them. If you're expecting an emergency call, let the box office know. They can receive it for you and come get you from your seat if there's something of that type that you're there. We've been doing this for a long time now, 23, 24 odd years or so, and I enjoy coming out here. It's a great chance for me, but I got a cast that's pacing back there, timing me. They challenge that each night I get a little longer and they have to wait a little longer. That may be true, but I was thinking about it today before I came over here. What makes this so special? I'm really proud of what we can do. We live in a community like we do, a small town out in the middle of nowhere really, that had the foresight to save this beautiful building from becoming a parking lot. I had the intelligence to be able to put the money into it to restore it and to continue the work and efforts of restoring it. Proud that we have a group in our community theater that was brave enough to undertake a competition of this, that we now have some worldwide recognition. You know, it's not Ann Arbor or East Lansing that runs this, it's Coldwater, Michigan, branch community players that do it. I'm also proud of the fact that we have actors who are willing to undertake new characters each year, something totally undeveloped, something done. These are not professionals from Detroit and Chicago and Grand Rapids. These are your local people from Coldwater and Brunson and Quincy and Jonesville. They come out here each year to do it. And when you think of all those things, it really makes me proud of this entire presentation, the entire concept. And I'm extremely proud this year of the cast that we have, the efforts that they put forward, and the show that we have. It's one that I really enjoyed, and I'm sure that you will. And with that, I have nothing further to say except thanks a lot, Bob. I know you're helping us. And here's Authors Anonymous.
So you're T.Y. Myers.
I am.
Fooled me.
I suspect that isn't very difficult.
Big-time mystery writer like you never would have figured you for a dame.
My sex surprises you.
Your gender.
What?
Your gender surprises him, not your sex.
Yes, dear. Given the opportunity, we might all be surprised by your sex. I don't know what you're talking about.
The simple technical difference between sex and gender.
Writers, you can't say a word without being picked apart. Give me a good, honest cop any day.
Good honest cop is hard to find.
Ah, Mr. Drake, aren't you so hard-boiled? Just like your fiction.
That pot was left boiling too long.
Yeah, not like that wimpy stuff you write, eh, Wally?
The name is Wallace. You've read my set?
No, but I heard about it. Literature.
Another word for high art, low readership.
At least my work has value.
Mr. Crandall, value is like virtue. As long as you still have it, what good does it do you? Loyalty checks are the measure of value, not some la-di-da literary awards.
I wouldn't call $100,000 la-di-da.
You ain't won it yet, kid.
I can't see Roscoe Drake, the purveyor of guns, booze, and broads, winning the prize. Or, for that matter, T.Y. Myers. Mystery novels are barely one step up from what Drake turns out.
I beg your pardon, but an intricate mystery is a far more creative literary form than Mr. Drake's tough guy drivel.
Speaking of drivel, that brings us to you, Miss Hanscott.
Call me Charlotte. Insults are so much kinder among friends.
No disrespect, but really, romance novels, they don't even really count as writing. They're merely typing.
I type very fast, Arlie, and spend even faster.
My point is, what all of you write is genre fiction.
And what you write, Mr. High and Mighty, is undefinable.
Not to mention unreadable.
Excuse me. Oh, I'm sorry.
Don't be sorry, Miss McCoy, unless you've done something scandalous, and then be happy.
Oh, no. I haven't really.
So what do they call you around here besides Miss McCoy?
My name is Meredith.
Oh, a pretty name. I use that name for my heroine and orchids in my heart.
How in the hell does an orchid get into somebody's heart?
Who knows there? Planted by love, watered by kisses, blooming by night.
Oh, please.
No, don't ask me. Go on. You'll have to buy the books.
Well, you certainly won't find it in any library.
What I wanted to say was that Miss Downweaver will be here shortly. I'm sorry you've all had to wait.
As long as we're waiting, I guess you don't have, mind if I have myself a little libation?
Libation. I'm impressed. You know a word with 3 syllables.
Stick your head up to the ceiling, punk.
Well, pencil that line, Moscow. We're not in the bar room.
Or a bedroom, Charlotte.
Careful. You'll start my creative juices flowing.
Don't talk dirty in front of the doll.
We have some bottled water here if any of the rest of you are thirsty, along with some wheat crackers and carrots.
Does the doll look yummy?
Perhaps Miss McCoy could enlighten us as to what's expected of us.
Yes, we really don't know that much about your employer.
Doris Downweaver. Never heard of her till I got her letter.
Oh, what a great opening paragraph. A $100,000 grant offer. That'll grab a reader's attention.
Yeah, faster than a slit skirt and a high wind.
So what's your story, Meredith? Her story? What motivated her to do this? Her love of reading. Because she's always been a compulsive reader. A while back, she inherited a good bit of money. A fortune, really.
Including this country house, I presume? Did you come with the estate?
Me, no. I'm just her secretary. I watch over her because she's pretty dependent on me.
What is she, an invalid?
Oh, on the contrary, she gets around quite well. Almost too well. Although she does use a cane. And you have to watch out for the cane.
About the money, the 100 G's.
She decided to become a patron of the arts, specifically to encourage writers. But not novices. And not writers who are financially independent. Basically, she wanted to subsidize working writers who are skillful in their craft, but just struggling to make ends meet. My ends are hardly on speaking terms, we're so far apart.
Why us? How did we get selected?
For one thing, she was already familiar with your writings.
A fan!
And she had learned from various and independent sources about your financial setbacks. For example, your interview in the Times, Mr. Crandall, where you stated the economic difficulties of pursuing a serious literary career.
The days of making a living from short stories disappeared with Scott Fitzgerald.
And your unfortunate reversal in the stock market, Miss Myers.
No mystery about that. I might just as well take my money to Reno.
I know a couple of those new places in Reno with those old-fashioned slots, not those newfangled things. I got one in my Lucky Magnet. I got it there on my first honeymoon.
Miss Downweaver was sorry to hear about your latest divorce, Mr. Gray.
Yeah, well, magnets don't work on some things.
Community property, the alimony, and the settlement. It all added up, didn't it?
Yeah, more like a case of subtraction.
And then, Miss Ascot, how's that libel suit that went against you?
Ugh, an outrageous miscarriage of justice. How was I to know there was a real person named Bunny Rumpus? That she had 3 South American lovers in a row, just like my character in Passion on the Pampas.
Quite an unfortunate coincidence.
And now she's spending my money on all her gigolos.
You could take a month and write another novel.
Month? It takes you that long.
Well, it takes me a full year to get through a book.
Slow reader.
Your sense of humor is not appreciated.
Like his writing.
Well, somebody must appreciate it. I got 17 titles in print.
I have double that number.
Quality counts more than quantity.
The quality of what? Stock characters, worn-out plot devices? In every whodunit, there's always a dead body found lying around.
The bodies lying around my books certainly aren't dead.
Well, I got bodies all over the place. Bodies with bullet wounds, stab wounds, broken teeth from chewing on a knuckle sandwich.
The point is, Miss Downbeaver likes all different types of books. So she's an undiscriminating reader. Only in the best sense of undiscriminating. She finds something worthwhile in everything.
In other words, she's bereft of critical faculties.
I wouldn't say that. Although it does bring us to an explanation for this delay in her appearing. We're waiting for one more person to arrive.
Just what we need, another pencil jockey.
This one's not a writer. At least not a fiction writer. Miss Downbeaver has invited Porter Rembert.
The critic.
He's coming here.
So who's this guy?
Just another man with an opinion.
Not just another man, and not just an opinion. Porter Rembert is a premier literary critic at the Times.
Do you know him?
No. But I've read his articles. Very perceptive. When he reviews a book and likes it, the writer is made. I can't wait to meet him.
Why was he invited? We've already established that Miss Downbeaver has undiscriminating tastes. Therefore, in deciding who will be the recipient of the grant, she has enlisted the aid of Mr. Rembert.
Oh, I'm sunk.
Like the Titanic. We all are.
Oh, I wouldn't say that.
I wouldn't either. I read a thinking man's mystery.
Yeah, well, we'll see what the thinking man thinks of it, won't we?
Is he going to judge us by our accumulated work? By a single book? I don't understand.
That will all be explained in good time.
I'm glad I've taken care of my work and not just rushed it out. My last novel took me 3 years.
What you had, a case of writer's block?
Not at all. I write every day. Something finely crafted is worth the effort. Unlike pulp fiction, my writing will last.
Of course your books will last, sweetheart. Because no one wears them out by reading them.
That must be Mr. Rembert.
A moment of suspense. A stranger waits outside the door.
Yeah, or maybe somebody dumped a body on the front porch.
Yes?
Hello, I'm Porter Rembert.
Oh. All right. Come meet our other guests.
You were expecting me, weren't you?
Yes, of course. It's just that somehow I had pictured you as being older.
Well, I'm sure I will be someday.
You must have started very young.
At the paper or in general?
I'm not exactly sure I know what I mean, but please come meet our other guests.
Mr. Rembert, it's an honor to meet you. I'm Wallace Crandall.
That's fine, good to see you.
I wrote When Giants Awake.
Yes, yes,
You read it?
could be I did.
Roscoe Drake, love your stuff in the Times.
Thanks, sir. Get a kick out of it myself.
T.Y. Myers and Charlotte Ascott.
Ladies?
I hope you enjoy a good mystery,
The mystery is why people like mysteries.
as opposed to overly perfumed pornography.
There is nothing pornographic about love.
You called them ladies. You might want to revise it.
Perhaps we could all have a seat. I'll go and call Miss Downbeaver.
I hope I wasn't too late.
Not at all. You made a perfect grand entrance.
Or a perfectly grand entrance, depending on the intent.
For crying out loud, he walked into the room, period.
Would I be out of place to ask why a critic of your repute would agree to judge, whatever this is, this competition?
Well, the idea intrigued me. It struck me as a literary challenge. A chance to examine contrasting styles of writing. And of course, there was a certain honorarium involved.
Yeah, a little jingle for the judge, huh? A little swag for the Swami, a little moolah for the mullah.
A little less color in the commentary.
Purple prose.
Purple, like a black eye or somebody looking for one.
Or tough guy talk with the poor man's Mickey Spillane.
I thought maybe Spillane was the poor man's maybe Spillane.
Such erudite conversation. If all of you are not careful, Mr. Rembert is going to get the right impression about you.
What the hell, Roscoe? Go ahead and punch him.
Here we are.
I know where we are. Are they leaving already?
No, they just stood up because they're gentlemen.
Ha! I've seen a lot of men on their feet that were not gentlemen. You're in my chair.
What?
T.Y. Myers, our mystery writer.
That mysteries give me a headache.
Pleased to meet you, Miss Downweaver. Can I pass you something?
Yuck.
Later, perhaps.
And you've already met, after a fashion, Miss Charlotte Ascot, our romance writer.
Charmed.
You write all of that sex stuff from experience?
For the sake of my reputation, I prefer not to be too specific.
You must be worn to a frazzle.
And here we have Mr. Roscoe.
Who's this one?
This is our adjudicator, Porter Breffert, the esteemed literary critic.
What does a critic do anyway?
He reads books and complains about them.
I like this one.
Now I'd like to introduce
Say something else.
You're a bit of a live wire, aren't you?
Live wire? It's been ages since I've heard live wire.
Now I'd like to
I sure hope I'm a live one. I'd hate to be a dead one.
Mr. Roscoe Drake, Miss Downweaver. Mr. Drake is known for his hard as nails detective fiction.
Yeah, hard as nails, that's me. I put it down on the paper. I make the story jump, make it move, make it growl.
So he's not going to start barking, is he?
If he does, we'll give him a chew toy.
Bringing us to Mr. Wallace Crandall, who writes literary fiction.
Stories that actually make you think.
Oh, don't let me think. Every time I think of something I don't like.
May I say, I feel privileged to be invited here by such a magnanimous patron of the arts.
He's a suck-up, isn't he?
So, now that we all know who we are, let's get a little housekeeping out of the way.
Oh, no dusting. Can't stand dusting. It makes me sneeze, and sneezing rattles my gizzard.
I just need a few preliminaries, Miss Downweaver. I trust you all got settled into your hotel rooms in town. It's not a 4-star hotel, but it is the best we had to offer.
It's fine. I've been in worse.
Why don't we ask Charlotte? She has the most experience in hotel rooms.
A room without a man is just a room.
Is that the sort of thing you wanted me to say?
If you were saving that line, I think you should have saved it a while longer.
Oh, I don't know, it sounds pretty right to me.
About this evening,
What about it?
I was just going to explain how we're going to proceed.
Ah.
Miss Downweaver and Mr. Rembert and I together will be interviewing you each individually. The purpose of the interview will be to learn about your goals for the future, pertaining, of course, to your literary careers. We'd like to hear what you hope to achieve and how the great money could help you in your efforts.
And you better make it good.
Miss Ascot, why don't we start with you?
And end with me, if you'd like.
Will the rest of you please wait in the library through here?
The library, more books.
The object is to read them, Roscoe.
Let's go.
We'll call each of you in turn.
The library is fine with me. If I'm not writing, I'm always reading.
That's okay, I got a racing form you can read.
Ah, good. They're gone. Too many people.
Something of a recluse, are you?
Am I?
Miss Downweaver could be another Emily Dickinson. If she wrote poetry, that is.
Interesting you should mention poetry. I'm especially fond of it.
That silly stuff. Rat, cat, hat, this and that. It's a bunch of foolishness.
Poetry doesn't necessarily have to rhyme.
Then it isn't poetry.
There was a young man from Kildare.
Perhaps not.
Miss Downweaver, don't you think poetry has a beauty and power that is unique among all literary forms?
No.
Mr. Rembert, did you bring along that file I sent you on our 4 writers?
Oh, sorry, I must have forgotten and left it at the office.
That's all right. With Miss Downweaver's permission, I'll guide the interview along. But please, Mr. Rembert, do join in at any time you'd like.
Only if you stop calling me Mr. Rembert. Call me Porter.
Very well then, Porter.
Remember, this procedure's all new to me, so I'm starting forward.
Now, Miss Ascot,
Oh, call me
Joke I heard said, read about it.
Pardon?
Not referring just to the carnal activity between your characters, but also to the redundancy of your plots.
Oh, this one warms up pretty fast.
People who say such things don't understand the attraction of romantic fiction.
I take it you don't care for romance novels, Mr. Porter.
My personal tastes aren't the issue. The real question is, does Miss Downriver like it?
I like the covers. Half naked, sweating men, big muscles and long hair, hot stuff.
I don't do the covers.
Oh,
I believe what Miss Downriver is trying to express is her appreciation for the fairy tale aspects of the form, combined with the more adult and very natural longings of both men and women.
yeah, hot stuff.
I'm glad you respond so positively. Some people don't.
Do you have a family, Charlotte,
A family?
that you have to support?
Oh, let's see, I'm divorced. Well, isn't everyone? So I'm not supporting any husbands right now.
Children?
No, thanks. I've had some. Really, I find domestic issues distracting. I'm a woman of the world, you know, certainly not confined to household affairs. Though affairs outside the house are perfectly acceptable.
Meredith mentioned goals and achievements. You've had some popular financial success already. 10 years from now, what would you like to look back on as your greatest accomplishment?
Twice as many books in print with millions more readers. And a few movie adaptations.
But in regards to the work itself, what do you want it to say?
I don't want it to say anything. I want it to scream. Go for love. Find it. Embrace it. Don't be afraid of it. Love. Love, love, love. Not just sex, as everyone claims, but passionate, wine-sipping, moon-gazing, candle-lighting romance. That's what my readers dream about. That's what they want to find. And if I can give it to them for a few hours between the covers of a book, then I will have achieved my goal.
Who does do the covers?
Do you have any other questions you'd like to ask our guest, Miss Downriver?
Nah, get the next one in here.
I take it I'm dismissed.
Porter?
I'm finished.
In that case, we thank you, Charlotte. Please have a seat in the library, if you will.
Of course. Miss Downriver.
Why?
I was merely taking my leave of you.
Well, then take it. Take it.
And would you please send in Mr. Drake for us?
My pleasure. To be anywhere, Mr. Drake is not.
What do you think?
About Charlotte? Well, she knows what she wants, and she's going for it. You can't ask for much more than that.
Well, then fine. Give her the money and let's go home.
You are home, Miss Downriver. And to be fair, we have to interview the others, too.
Yeah.
Frankly, I'm still unsure of what I'm supposed to be doing.
Simply evaluate the writers on their approach to their work and then apply your instincts.
My instincts.
Critical instincts. To find work, even where work may not be obvious.
Somebody wanted to see me.
Who wanted to see you?
Thought you did.
Have a seat, Mr. Drake. And begin, please, by telling us about your philosophy of writing.
Philosophy. What's that got to do with writing? Sorry. Philosophy, let me see.
In other words, why do you write?
To make money.
But why do you write the type of fiction you write, as opposed to, say, children's stories?
Ah, gotcha. Well, yeah, you never went into any of that really wimpy stuff you see out there. I write from the gut. I write about a guy who goes through 10 kinds of hell to get what he wants. And if anyone gets in his way,
Be sure to warn the other contestants for this grant.
So it's a quest. Hero or anti-hero, the protagonist encounters obstacles and overcomes them with particular courage. He attacks them directly in a way the average person can't, either because of societal constraints or personal inhibitions.
there you go. That's a ticket. You nailed it.
What do you think about the subject, Miss Dalrymple?
What subject?
Roscoe's blend of guns, knives, and fists mixed with loose broads and backhands.
Ah, action. Always did like action. Couldn't stand just sitting around. Wait a minute. Of course I couldn't stand sitting around. If I was sitting around, I couldn't stand now, could I?
That's a very good point.
Your main protagonist, Jake Irons, never seems to commit himself to any one girlfriend. Is there a reason for that?
Sure, he's a private dick. He dates all the dames in his cases. A real girlfriend that's slow down the story. It's an adventure, it ain't real life.
More fantasy fiction, this time from the male perspective.
That's how I see it too. And Miss Downriver was quite accurate in distilling it down to the term action.
Well, you're a smart one, Miss Downweaver.
Takes one to know one.
You and me get along.
Speaking of getting along, perhaps we should do just that. Would you please return to the library and send out Miss Myers?
Yeah, sure, no problem. Remember, I'm your man. Action.
Action.
Your assessment?
Violence is the easiest way to establish conflict in a story, and the easiest way to resolve it. It isn't pretty, but it's effective. It's not very admirable. Appealing to man's baser nature doesn't elevate the man.
You believe all literature should elevate?
Ideally, yes.
I got stuck in an elevator once. Took a hell of a long time to get me out of there. I had to make a run for the restroom.
Action.
You watch out for this one, Meredith. Watch out for that one.
Am I interrupting something?
Hopefully.
Did the others tell you what to expect?
They didn't tell me anything. Charlotte said, I'll let it remain a mystery, which apparently she found amusing.
So what do you like about writing mysteries?
Well, when we say mystery, we really mean murder mystery. What other type of mystery is there? So someone gets killed. Who? And for what reason? Who had sufficient motive to take their life? And what could that motive be? How was the murder committed? And what clues were left behind? Who's going to investigate? And how will he or she solve the crime? All of these elements, they figure into the mystery. And they keep it interesting, both for me and for my readers.
A mystery, then, is driven essentially by questions.
But they're always the same questions, just rearranged by circumstances. Don't they become formulaic?
Maybe so, but the formula works. Besides, it's the character details that make the story interesting. I believe that's what distinguishes a T.Y. Myers mystery.
I would like to ask something.
What is it, Miss Downriver?
What is what?
What is it that you'd like to ask our guests?
Oh, yes. What does it stand for?
What does what stand for?
The T.Y.
Oh, can you keep a secret?
No.
Well, I'll just have to tell you anyways. It doesn't stand for anything. T.Y. Myers is my pen name, my nom de plume, or rather my nom de laptop.
How did you choose that particular name?
Now that will have to remain a secret.
It's an anagram. Rearrange the letters of mystery and get T.Y. Myers.
How did you guess?
Remember, words are my profession too.
I'm very impressed. I'm a little bit embarrassed I didn't think of it for myself.
Oh, you're always getting embarrassed about something or other. Well, there you are. You're embarrassed for being embarrassed.
The source of our embarrassment is another type of secret. We all have secrets, don't we? The mysteries of our own lives, things that we conceal. Things that have made us what we are today, and the things that are making us what we'll someday be. The appeal of the murder mystery is that the mystery always gets solved. There's a resolution, and a satisfying one, with the assurance that justice is being done.
No matter how convoluted the process. You've been criticized for some rather unbelievable, if ingenious plot twists, especially your Jeffrey Kaiser series.
I reject the criticism. As a retired police detective, Jeffrey has an eye for murder. After his wife died, he retired from the force and took to traveling that he always wanted to do.
Everywhere he goes, he runs into a knotty murder case that no one else can seem to unravel.
All well and good. What about the exploding candles in Father Carlisle's last confession?
It was the waxy residue on the corpse that led to the arrest of the bitter young priest. And that's when Jeffrey collared him. You know, collared?
I believe the point Mr. Brevard is trying to make is whether or not such plot devices are feasible.
Feasible? They only have to be feasible in the book, not in real life. Who cares about real life? If my readers wanted real life, they wouldn't be reading.
Then you concede you write escapist fare.
Escapism could be an art.
Houdini, greatest escape artist ever lived.
I take it, Miss Downweaver, you've had no problem with the exploding candles?
Never did. The only trouble I ever had with candles was blowing them out on my birthday cake.
On another note, are you married, Miss Myers?
I only found enough time to write, not to fall in love. How about you?
Me? Oh, no.
Well, why not? You're very pretty.
No, really.
Well, of course you're pretty. Stop being embarrassed about it.
We're not here to talk about me.
But if we were, I'd make that a unanimous opinion.
Enough, all right? Any more questions for our guest?
Just what is your real name?
The one I've chosen is my real name. I discarded the other one long ago. Some things are better left disposed of.
Have you ever wanted to kill someone in real life?
Many times. But I'm a coward. That's why I like to write. On the page, I can do whatever I want, with no shame and no fear of capture.
Thank you, Miss Myers. Please have a seat in the library and send in Mr. Crandall.
Certainly. I hope I didn't disappoint you.
I've been disappointed for 30 years.
Then I won't feel guilty about it.
May I ask what disappointed you the most?
Getting older. People should be born old and then grow young. That way, Meredith would be older than I am.
That's an interesting thought, Miss Downweaver.
Yeah, so we can turn the aging process turby-topsy.
Where's the next one? I'm growing older just sitting here.
He'll be out directly.
As opposed to circuitously.
You like to play with words.
Words in the way we use them is most of what we know.
Most, but not all.
No, not all.
My turn? I've been looking forward to this.
And we're looking forward to hearing from you.
But not for too long.
Mr. Crandall, how would you describe the way that you approach your work?
Seriously. Because what I write about is life, and life is serious. It's the ongoing struggle to discover what's at the very foundation of our being, our motivating origins, our demons and our angels, our aspirations and failures and triumphs, and the self-perception that we so often never achieve as we live and love, suffer and wonder, living entire lifetimes in the moment, as the moment has meanings, consequences that endure and changes forever.
What the hell is he talking about?
You realize so-called serious literature doesn't have much of a following?
That says more about the modern reader than it does about the writer and his work.
Do you get discouraged by the lack of commercial success?
Naturally. And I find it incomprehensible. I have good reviews. I have a prestigious small press publisher. And yet, any dim-witted actress with a book on her sex life can go on a talk show and sell more copies in a day than I sell in a year. H.L. Mencken said, "No one ever went broke by underestimating the taste of the American public." We could use a lot more Menkens.
Menkins. Dorothy and the Wizard and the Menkins.
I believe you're thinking of Munchkins.
H.L. Munchkin.
I assume you want your work to be remembered, perhaps even taught in literature classes?
That would be the ultimate. But more than anything, I'm driven to explore the inner ache of existence from which we all seek relief. First through understanding, and ultimately through acceptance. A reconciliation with who we are.
That requires a great deal of introspection, I would think.
No, I can't tell you the number of nights I spent working out the private torments of my characters' lives and examining how they intersect with and illuminate my own.
Very admirable in this way. What's up to market when your competition is a punch to the jaw, half-naked woman, or a dead body laying in the backyard?
The modern reader doesn't actually read anymore. He watches television between the covers of a book.
Oh, I'd like a TV like that. I'd watch it in bed.
That's about all television is good for, to put you to sleep.
Novels that actually have something to say and make you think should be appreciated more than they are.
There's been an appreciation, depreciation.
Oh, not in this house. We appreciate books of every description. Isn't that right, Miss Downweaver?
Books. Everywhere. Whole stacks. I trip over books.
Well, in that case, I hope they have soft covers.
Oh,
You can't resist it, can you? Having fun with language.
Does it-
Oh, no. On the contrary, I enjoy it.
That is such a load of hooey, Charlotte.
You're a load of hooey, and if I weren't a lady, I'd call you more than that.
Well, you're not a lady, so feel free.
Would you two please shut up? No one said you had to talk to each other.
Stay out of this time.
It's T-Y, not tie.
He doesn't know the difference. He's semi-literate.
Oh, you overestimate him.
What's that supposed to mean?
I take it back. You're completely illiterate.
Fight! It's not a fight. I'm sure it's just a misunderstanding.
Hey, if you two broads weren't broads, I'd lay you out flat.
You couldn't lay me anywhere.
Oh, is that right?
Oh, you're all mouth and no muscle.
Hello, excuse me.
That's what passes for an intellectual conversation among those three.
But you're all writers. You all must have something in common.
They do. Don't put me with them.
I wonder who won.
Not the readers, unless they kill each other in there.
You're not a very happy guy, are you?
What is there to be happy about? Life is a long, arduous journey with jungles of confusion and mountains of despair, all leading to a desert of the soul.
May I go now?
It's your house, Miss Downweaver. If you wish to retire, we'll understand.
Retired from what?
I meant if you're feeling tired, we'll excuse you.
What did I do?
We didn't do anything.
Then don't excuse me.
Jungles of confusion.
Nobody got beat up?
Of course not, Miss
All
Downweaver.
done.
Just wait till you see what I do to them in my next novel.
Well, I know who my next corpse will be.
Fortunately, I only write about beautiful, charming people.
There goes your autobiography.
Forgive me for asking this, but would you all still be acting this way if there weren't $100,000 at stake?
Sure I will.
Me too.
They admit it.
Leave me out of it.
I take it Miss Downweaver this evening is going exactly as you expected?
I didn't expect anything.
Miss Downweaver likes to be surprised.
A good surprise is what makes the story interesting. For example, who knows how many of us in this room aren't what we appear?
What do you mean?
If we look behind the mask, how many imposters would we find?
Imposters? In what sense?
What are you talking about?
She's just spinning yarns. Maybe she's the imposter.
Maybe I am, but we all have things to hide, don't we?
Those secrets you were talking about earlier?
Who's got secrets? I love secrets.
Maybe you have some of your own, Miss Downweaver.
Oh, yes. I have secrets.
Secrets are best when they're kept.
Well, I disagree. From a literary viewpoint, secrets are best at the instant they're discovered. Like walking in on your best friend making love to your fiancé. Everything is revealed.
In your books, rapidly.
And in your books, everything is revealed in the last 2 pages with outlandish explanations as to who did what, how, and why.
Yes, for example, the killer priest turns out to be the abandoned, illegitimate son of the older priest. He went through seminary just to be appointed to his father's parish so he could plot his revenge. Talk about unbelievable.
He's right, dear. That story had more stretch marks than the mother of 12.
I'm glad I never read it.
Well, 50,000 other people did. I believe your lunch book had a print run of 3,000.
It was 5,000, and mine were hardcover.
Oh, kid, you're an amateur compared to us. We write things people want to read about. When Jake Iron swings into action, my readers know the fur's gonna fly.
The fur's gonna fly. You must keep a book of cliches handy when you write.
Let's not start arguing again.
The fur's gonna fly.
We need to move on to the grant process.
Quite right. We mustn't forget the reason we came here.
Would you like me to explain the next step of the evaluation, Ms. Dallweaver?
Sure, help yourself.
When the four of you return to your hotel rooms tonight, you'll find that we have furnished you with everything you'll need. Paper, pencils, pens, typewriters, laptop computers, whatever your preference. Your assignment for tonight will be to write something new in your own individual styles to demonstrate your literary abilities for Ms. Dallweaver.
A homework assignment.
No sweat.
Rather unorthodox.
You expect us to create on cue?
You said you write every day.
Well, but not just anything.
Well, it's your assignment, not mine.
Your assignment will be to critique each piece of writing.
So I get to be the bad guy.
So who's the good guy?
Apparently, whoever I say it is.
Ms. Dallweaver, naturally, will make the final decision regarding the grant. But keep in mind that she will be guided significantly by your evaluations.
Anything you'd like to add to that, Ms. Dallweaver?
No? Can I go to bed now?
If you'd like.
Good night, Miss Dallweaver.
Thank you for having us here.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Good night.
Yeah, don't let the bed bugs bite.
Ain't nothing bit me in bed for you.
Ms. Dallweaver gets a little cranky when she's tired.
Stays tired a lot, does she?
You got a tongue on you.
It came as original equipment.
Well, you get remarkable mileage out of it.
Good one, Molly.
Anyways, what time will we be back tomorrow?
Not till afternoon, so you'll have all morning available to write. Also, I've arranged for a van to take you back to your hotel rooms. It's waiting for you outside.
Are you coming with us?
I came in a rental car.
Please stay a few minutes, Porter. The rest of you are free to go.
Free to go to work, you mean?
You got other plans for tonight, Charlotte?
I'm sure writing isn't what she's accustomed to in a hotel room.
Whatever I do, wherever I do it, is none of your business.
I'm very grateful.
Thank you all again for coming.
Quite a group, real swordness.
Eclectic, you might say.
In keeping with Miss Dallweaver's tastes.
Porter, I have something I'd like to ask you.
Yes?
When I first corresponded with you at the Times, you didn't answer right away.
Oh, that. Well, I get so much mail, and I have a slow system. I'm sorry if it took longer than it should have to get back to you.
But then when I talked to you on the phone, you didn't sound anything like I'd imagined you'd sound.
Really? How should I have sounded?
I don't know. Older, grayer, more pipe and tweetish. That's how I expected you to look, too. And then when I saw you,
Well, I hope you were disappointed.
no, not disappointed. Surprised.
Wasn't?
After the initial shock,
I have various effects on people, but they're rarely shocking.
I might have used the wrong word.
We all use the wrong words at times. Or the right words in the wrong order.
You're a very quick thinker. And that's good because it'll help you with the task ahead of you tomorrow.
Well, I'll need all the help I can get. About Miss Dallweaver.
Yes?
She's a bit eccentric.
So people say. And of course, they're right. We all have our weaknesses, though, don't we? Our secrets, as Miss Myers suggested.
True enough.
So, you remember your way back into town?
Yes, I think I can find it. Good night, Meredith.
Good night, Porter. You make a most charming Porter Rembert, whoever you really are.
There is no reason to be so obnoxious.
Who are you calling obnoxious?
Call him something he can spell.
Hey, that's enough out of you, wise guy.
Honestly, Roscoe, you talk like somebody out of the 50s.
Is that a time reference, or did you mean his IQ?
And of course, nobody in here has any brains but you.
How good of you to notice.
Brains aren't what she's known for noticing.
Cut right Agatha Christie. How would you like
Oh, shut up! Bunch of idiots. Ought to be locked up somewhere. Never let them out.
How about we continue our discussion in the library?
Fine with me.
How did I ever manage to get involved with such an assemblage of creepy?
You can involve me for a few minutes. I got a call to make.
Hey, babe, how you doing?
Nah, we haven't even started yet. The old lady's secretary's not here, and the critic's late too. Like those guys are never on time, unless there's some editor breathing down your neck.
I miss you too, my little snow bunny.
I can't wait to get back to you when
Such a nice
somebody says,
I'll talk to you later, sugar.
Thank you again for a wonderful lunch.
Thank you for joining.
It's been ages since I've had a hamburger. I suppose a little red meat won't hurt once in a while. I even read somewhere that it contains vital nutrients.
Good thing for your vital nutrients, move right into each other then.
I don't get out all that often. I was only going into town for some groceries and... which I forgot.
My fault. I hope the sour girl won't go hungry.
No, I'm quite sure she won't.
Where is everybody anyway?
They must be in the library. Hello, everyone. Good to hear you. I'm awfully sorry that we're late.
We. You and Mr. Rembert. I see.
I'll go call Miss Downford.
Out with a doll, were you? Oh, nothing like you might imagine.
More like what I might imagine.
That late.
What if I were searching for clues? I might think that you had an ulterior motive.
Unfortunately, we don't inhabit one of your mystery novels.
I hope that doesn't imply a prejudice against my work.
Not at all. All of my prejudices are in favor, not against.
So you're prejudiced in favor of Miss McCoy.
If you'll scout my reality, I'll scout your fiction.
oh, whatever happened to straight talk? Everybody talks around everything, gets it all.
It's called intelligent conversation.
No nuance for you, huh, Roscoe?
Oh, what? Like you knew from Nuance, what with your naked thighs and hot clutches.
They aren't my naked thighs.
But judging from your press coverage, you've had plenty of hot clutches.
Oh, working no play? What can I say? A girl needs a break now and then.
Nothing like some sexy VR to sell some sexy books.
Yeah, PR, now that's the key. Image is everything. My readers know me, they know what to expect.
The essence of literature is not knowing what to expect. It's a slow illumination of the dark world. The writer should be colored with his own persona.
Which is perhaps why no one has ever heard of you, darling. You're an uncolored coloring book.
What about you, T.Y.?
What about me?
Oh, your readers know the kind of books you write, but they don't know you. I didn't know what you looked like, man or woman.
A mystery writer should have an air of mystery about them, don't you think?
Well, something funny, though. I could swear I've seen you somewhere before.
Really? How strange. I mean, since I don't go to bars or racetracks. Where is Miss Downford?
I do hope we can avoid further confinement in the library. It's intimidating in there with every known author staring down at us.
Quite a collection. All the classics, ancient and modern, along with the trash.
Everything from Henry James to Dr. Seuss.
Herman Melville to Jacqueline Suzanne.
Miss Downweaver is a woman of diverse taste.
Or of no taste at all.
Instead of Downweaver, her name should be Ritz,
Because she's wealthy?
because she's crackers. Looney is a goose.
A goose is not loony. A loon is loony. A goose is
Goosey?
Miss Downweaver may be a bit unusual, but I'm sure we wouldn't want to disrespect her in any way.
I would never disrespect anyone who gave me $100,000.
That's a whole lot of respect.
Come on, Miss Downweaver.
No!
You're all set now.
Then go on without me.
You know we can't do it very well without you, Miss Downweaver.
All right. Okay.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Hiya.
I'm very pleased.
Yeah.
Are we ready to start?
Why ask me? If you're ready to go, then go.
If everyone will have a seat. I see you've all brought back your writing exercise. Our test papers. Hardly bad. Just another aspect of the grant application.
Will we turn them into porter or what?
Didn't I mention it? You're going to be reading them aloud.
There's a treat.
I should have asked yesterday. Is there a word count you wanted? Just how long does the sample have to be? I take a lot of care with each sentence. I was up after night working on this.
How many words you come up with, kid?
I don't know exactly. It's 2 long paragraphs.
2 paragraphs took you half the night.
I knocked out a page and a half in 10 minutes.
There was no set amount required. The purpose was to demonstrate your individual capabilities and styles for Miss Downweaver.
Though I must point out that plot plays a major factor in any mystery, and it was impossible to develop a plot in such a short segment.
We understand. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Somebody read something. Can you read?
Like a champ.
Then do it.
Some have been good.
And that's simply,
Listen and consider. Take notes if you'd like.
Oh, by all means, take notes. I'm sure it's very complex.
We got a title for it. No extra charge.
Is that the title?
No, the title is She Had It Coming. Jake Irons heard the shot. He pulled out his .38 and kicked open the door. He saw a tall redhead with a half-open blouse standing by the couch. She had a gun in her hand and a body at her feet. It was the body of Sammy Cook, a down-on-his-luck PI. Now Sammy was down as far as he could get, and he wouldn't be getting up again. Jake looked at the dame, a tough gal named Susie who danced at the Foxtail Club, if you could call it dancing. He knew her, and he knew what she could do, now more than ever. He also knew she would do the same to him if he gave her the chance. You, she said. Me, he said right back at her. Their eyes met. In that one instant, he saw the flicker of hate as she glared at him, and then the twitch of her arm as her hand started up with the gun. He didn't hesitate, because he couldn't afford to. He brought his own gun up faster than hers and squeezed off 2 quick shots. The slugs ripped into her D-cups as she spun around the field. Dead before she landed. Blood and silicone oozed from her chest. He walked over and stood above her, looking down at the tangle of red hair and the white flesh and the long legs that would never wrap themselves around another pole. She had a great body when she was living. Jake thought it looked even better dead.
Definitely culture material. National Book Award at the very least.
Oh, I liked it too. Good stuff.
Thank you, Miss Downweaver. I could have written more, but I figured this was enough.
It was plenty. I have a question. Now, was that the beginning of the story, the end, or somewhere in the middle?
What's the difference? It moves.
It just doesn't go anywhere.
What do you mean it doesn't go anywhere? First he's outside the door, then he hears the shot, he goes through the door, and finds the broad that capped his old buddy. So he caps her before she can cap him.
How do we know Sammy was actually murdered?
You said her blouse was half open. Was it torn open? Maybe it was self-defense.
And how do we know that Sammy was his old pal? You didn't actually mention that in the
You
segment.
have to think about details to make the story work.
Don't you tell me about writing. I was writing stories before you could write your name.
Porter, do you have any comments you'd like to share?
I don't exactly know what to say about it. It's pure Roscoe drink.
Hey, you got it.
and you can have it.
Just gotta put my stuff down, don't you?
I would never pick it up.
How do you work out your hostility towards women? Specifically your ex-wives, by having your so-called hero shoot them?
Look, I got nothing against my ex-wives, except for all the money they take from me and what they do with it. Every time I turn around, they're either getting a bigger this or a smaller that. I've never seen so many women having so many needless operations.
Inspiration comes from many sources, including the writer's own mind. But whatever the source is essentially irrelevant. The only thing that matters is what appears on the page.
That's certainly the only thing we're considering here. I'll take the hold of the screen.
Too bad we don't have a hand of fireplace.
All right, let's see what you came up with, and we'll see who has the best grabber.
It's not about grabbing Roscoe, it's about developing characters and setting the stage.
Why don't you read yours next, Miss Myers?
Isn't funny? I would like to hear something funny.
I don't write comedy.
Oh, I don't know. From what I've heard, a lot of your stories are pretty laughable.
This is the beginning of the story. A serious story about murder. A coldness crept beneath the door, like an unseen fog, defying the locks and bolts that promised protection from the night. Mildred Owens nervously parted the curtains and looked out the window that faced the barn. She thought she had glimpsed headlights on the road, but there was nothing out there now. Perhaps it had only been moonlight reflecting on the snow, creating the illusion of movement as it broke through the passing cloud. She folded her arms and hugged herself, pulling tight the unraveling sweater that her late husband had given her one Christmas nearly 20 years before. It gave her scant comfort now, but she clung to it more for its memories than for its warmth. A sudden sound around the side of the house made her jump. It was like the brief scraping clatter of a bull being tipped over. Probably the old stray tomcat again, prowling along the porch for more of the scraps she had foolishly put out for him once too often. Mildred walked into the bedroom without turning on the light, hoping to spot the cat through the Venetian blinds. The room felt strangely cold. As her fingers parted two of the old wooden slats, she discovered the window behind them was open. At the same moment, she heard another sound, like a rasp of air, and felt it blow lightly against the back of her neck. She never had time to turn around, much less to scream.
Oh, something got her. What got her? What?
You mean, who done it?
Precisely! And that's what keeps people reading mysteries.
Not a bad grabber, was it, Roscoe?
You'll see how much the reader learns without mine having to explain everything. For example, the reference to a barn establishes a remote rural setting. Snow tells us it's winter. Moonlight tells us it's night. We know Mildred is an older woman by the mention of a deceased husband and a sweater he gave her nearly 20 years before. Not to mention that younger women aren't named Mildred anymore. You know, this warm sweater and the way she clings to it shows us that she's insecure with a sense of aloneness. Her nervous reactions tell us that she's easily frightened. Yet she's a kind-hearted woman because she puts out scraps for the stray cats. The farmhouse is an older place with a wraparound porch and wooden slats in the Venetian blinds. She reacts to the cold when she goes into the bedroom. She's in darkness when she's in danger. We're not told there's a killer behind her yet. She feels his breath and hears it. We're not told that she gets killed yet. We know her fate, all in one page.
Very impressive.
So what got her?
Well, you'll have to wait till I write the rest of the story. Well, at this point, even I don't know who done it, or why, or how the crime will be solved, or who will solve it. There's still so much work left to do. If only I could find the resources that allow me the time to write. How subtle is that?
Miss Myers, I was impressed not only by your story, but by your process. Extremely professional.
And we're all professional. We all get paid.
Brain surgeons and yardmen both get paid. But there's a big difference between a scalpel and a pair of edge clippers.
Giving that much thought to each and every page must require a great deal of time and effort to finish one book.
It does, but one page at a time isn't the challenge. The challenge is connecting one page with the next, interweaving plot threads and character traits throughout the narrative, both through description and dialogue.
Creative story meaningful?
Then please, Wallace, darling, do let us hear the meaningful meaning you achieved through your long, arduous labor last night.
I spent several hours working on this.
Please read it for us.
Very well. The blue heron stood on a single rock in the middle of the stream, watching the swift-flowing water for glints of silver. As long as the heron stood there, Raphael stood on the stream side, watching the watcher. His eyes saw the hunter, and the hunter saw the hunted, and the hunted saw nothing but the fast current. A sudden flicker in the passing stream, and the heron darted downward. Raphael nearly gasped at the swiftness and lethal precision of the movement. Then the heron was up and flying, bearing its helpless, still struggling prey to a farther shore, gliding somewhere beyond Raphael's view, beyond his comprehension of all that he had witnessed, and in some ineffable way experienced.
Ineffable?
You asked me, it was totally effable.
Nobody asked.
So it's a story about a bird?
Not specifically.
And the specific meaning?
Yes, and it's not asking too much. Could you please let us know exactly what specific meaning we're supposed to derive from the speaking paragraph?
Faulkner said the reader should do 50% of the work.
Faulkner in here.
The meaning is symbolic, can't you see? Of course not. Flowing water, the stream, is always symbolic of life. And the heron stands on a single rock in isolation and in need. Raphael himself is isolated and in need as he stands on the side of the stream outside the flow of life. Herons usually wade in the water, but this heron has taken a position above the water, looking down, watching for what it needs for sustenance or survival. Raphael is watching also, and learning, and reflecting. Then a heron strikes and flies away with the prey, leaving Raphael alone and separated from life's process even more than before, because the heron has done what Raphael cannot. The heron has gone to feast where Raphael can't see. The heron is being satisfied, but out of sight on the opposite shore, while Raphael still stands beside the flow of life that moment by moment continues passing by, filled with sustenance, while he remains passive and wondering, alone and unfulfilled.
It's so obvious.
This was a blue heron. So he was like sad.
Very good, Roscoe. You found symbolism in the color blue. The heron was sad and lonely.
You can't ridicule what you can't understand.
Oh, I can give it a shot.
So it is a story about a bird.
It's not about a bird.
Let's not get excited.
Who can get excited about a bird? A big, boring, blue bird.
You have to admit the symbolism has its respective place in literature.
But it still has to be attached to a story.
Symbolic content does not exclude verisimilitude. On the contrary, it enhances any construct of reality, especially using third-person omniscience. There's a prescient recognition that develops as the events unfold, so that the reader achieves a nearly preternatural awareness of the story's true significance.
I must have swallowed a dictionary. It keeps coming up with these $3 words.
Mr. Crandall, I understand what you're saying.
So you're the one.
Great literature often has value beyond itself and what it says about larger themes.
You often find the use of transcending language in poetry.
Nevermore. Nevermore.
Very good, Miss Weaver. Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven.
Another damn bird.
I thought you didn't like poetry.
Read the stuff in school. Didn't like algebra either.
And the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain. One of my favorite lines from that poem.
I take it you do like poetry?
Oh, yes, I do. But we're not here to talk about poetry.
No. Mr. Rembert, you have an appreciation, I'm sure, trying to do with my writing.
Yes, of course. The fact is, you'll never be in harmony with our other contestants here, because they're all out for one thing, popular appeal.
Oh, don't kid yourself. He wants popular appeal, just not as much as he wants respect.
And you don't want respect?
I have respect from the ones I want it from.
Before we get away from popular appeal, could I read now?
Certainly. Go right ahead.
By the way, did your piece have a title?
It's untitled.
Very appropriate. Mine is called The Lash of Passion.
All right, lay it on.
White flesh showed through the red lace of her sheer, clinging nightgown, while her chestnut hair cascaded onto her milky shoulders. Samantha studied herself in the full-length mirror, wondering how she might appear to Jeremy. She didn't have to wonder long, because suddenly he appeared behind her in the mirror, standing in the doorway with a grin. He ran a rugged hand through his thick black hair and whistled softly. She turned with a pretended show of surprise. Jeremy, don't tell me you weren't expecting me, he said with a confidence that would have sounded arrogant if not for the humor in his voice and the smile in his eyes.
No sense telling you something you wouldn't believe.
She replied. As he stepped into a room, moving slowly with a leopard's grace, she saw a shirt was unbuttoned to his waist and his feet were bare. Striving for an air of nonchalance, she said,
I was just getting ready for bed.
"Me too," he said. And then he was close enough for her to feel the warmth emanating from his body. It was the body of a trained athlete, trained for power and stamina, trained for all the physical the body can do.
Jeremy,
She spoke his name as if it might somehow hurry him on. But he continued at his own pace. "Samantha," he said back to her in what he took as an amusing exchange of names. Then his arms enfolded her, pulling her to him across those last few inches, pressing her body into his own as his lips covered her mouth with a slow, intense, persistent kiss. His hands moved down toward her body, then up again, resting warmly on the bare skin of her back. Her own hands clung to his shirt, but it was his flesh that she longed to feel. So she peeled his shirt off his wide, muscular shoulders without ever letting his lips leave hers. She ran her hands along the hard curves of his back, then around to the humid jungle of his chest. Jeremy's hands came up to her shoulders where his fingers found the thin straps of the nightgown. He lifted them up and pulled them down her arms. The nightgown began to fall. The well-bred, civilized part of her wanted to catch it and hold it up. But her more primal urges had taken command, so she let the gown slide down her body, off her naked breasts, and past her waist, falling along the soft velvet of her thighs, and landing in a little red pile at her feet. Samantha was quivering now, but not from the night air. A fevered warmth spread throughout her body, throughout her soul, pulsating with every magnified heartbeat. As Jeremy caressed her neck and breast and began to consume her, she felt every part of her body driven onward by the lash of passion, until her very being was aflame and throbbing, and called out for more, for more, for more.
Oh, don't stop now.
Yeah, don't stop. What's a story without a climax?
I think that's enough. You are such a tease.
Well now, that was quite,
Stimulating?
Sleazy, if you ask me. Whatever happened to good old-fashioned romance novels where the heroine was pure and unspoiled?
That babe was left out in the sun too long.
Readers these days expect more intimate relationships.
All that heaving bosom prose made my stomach want to heave.
I want to know if they did it.
Porter, do you have any critique to offer?
I was just wondering if
You're a dirty old broad, Charlotte.
I'm not old.
I believe that romantic fantasy has a place in our lives just as much as serious literature does. Every type of fiction engages in an unreality that for a while the reader accepts as real, or wishes could be real.
By calling it a romantic fantasy, you act as though it can only be that, a fantasy.
I wouldn't say that, it's just that, well, I don't know.
It's only a fantasy if it hasn't happened yet, so get busy.
Downriver?
You may have noticed, Miss Downweaver, but my writing sample was longer than all the others.
I could have taken half an hour and written twice as much.
Why didn't you?
I didn't want to show up. My cell phone's vibrating.
Lucky you.
Hello? No, I can't talk right now, sugar. I'm in town. I told you I'd call you back, didn't I? All right. Bye. Sorry.
Sounds like your next ex-wife's the possessive type there, Roscoe.
We're not taking you away from your lovely life.
Don't you worry about it. The sheets will still be warm when I get back.
Returning to the matter at hand, the four of you have provided quite an assortment of writing styles and philosophies. Haven't they, Miss Downweaver?
Oh yeah, everything on the menu.
I can honestly say it won't be easy to choose a winner.
That's the next step, of course, and one that Miss Downweaver and I must make alone, following consultation with Mr. Rembert.
Of course.
The band is waiting to take you back to your hotel so you can rest until we call you.
So you're leaving us in suspense then?
We know the obvious is more your style, Roscoe. Fortunately, I'm accustomed to suspense.
Writing quality fiction as I do, you find gratification is often deferred.
When it comes to gratification, I prefer not to defer.
And girls, Charlotte, they're your hormones. You let them rage.
Rage. Rage against the dying of the light.
Dylan Thomas.
Exactly right.
Anyways, Miss Downweaver, you're finished with this then?
Finished. Done.
It's been a pleasure.
Just not the kind you're used to.
Please leave your writing samples behind.
When do you expect we'll be called back?
Later this afternoon, I'm sure, after we've reached a decision.
Then we'll have the evening for you to celebrate. Or whatever.
Yeah, I'll do the celebrating. You do the whatever.
Well now,
Yes, well now.
it's up to us to make a final decision. We should probably discuss the merits of each candidate. Porter,
The merits, you say?
did one writer impress you more than the others?
I found them all equally impressive. Not meaning to equivocate, it's just that, to be honest, Meredith,
Do be honest, Porter.
I really didn't like any of them.
Well, surely you like one more than another.
Not enough to give them $100,000. What do you think, Miss Downweaver?
Me?
Did you have a particular preference?
Give them all $100,000.
I don't believe we can or should do that, Miss Downweaver.
Well, then why ask me?
Actually, Miss Downweaver might have the right idea. Why not split the $100,000 even? Give them all $25,000 and be done.
I don't know about that. Although it's something we might discuss, Miss Downweaver.
But not now.
Where are you going?
To take a nap. All that reading made me sleepy.
Well, please make it a short nap. We have to reach a decision here.
You two decide. Wake me up when it's over.
I'm sorry to lend more help. I know you were counting on my critical ability to offer some insight into the candidates and their work. It's just that I find the prospect simply beyond me.
I understand.
Well, I hope so. But I do have something I want to share with you. Those four weren't the only ones writing assignments last night. No, mine was undertaken voluntarily.
What do you mean? What is this?
Well, I was glad to hear you say you like poetry.
I adore it.
Too bad Miss Dowdy doesn't. But I didn't write this poem for her. I wrote it for you.
For me? Really? I'm he wrote poetry.
He even published some of it. Literary magazines, that sort of thing. Anyway, you can read this later when you get a chance.
No, no, please, you read it.
You want to twist more than one arm, if you're sure. I was going to give this to you at lunch, but I wanted to wait until the kid was finished.
So what kind of a poem is it?
You tell me. How can all the world stop while spinning faster than before? How can the brightest light grow dim, even as brilliance fills the atom? How can every sound fade away, though a sigh resounds within? Where beauty enters, all else recedes, in deference, relinquishing their places, something greater, something finer. So the world spun, so the light shined, so my heartbeat filled my hearing, and she walked in.
That was beautiful.
Amy's word.
No, it's wonderful as it is.
Meredith, I was wondering,
Yes?
well, if you weren't too tied down here with this down weaver, and you have some free time occasionally, maybe we could go out to lunch again, or dinner, here or in the city.
I would like that. And then we'd have more time to find out more about each other, who we really are.
Yes, we really are. A practical question in any relationship.
May I keep this?
Yes, and here's some more I brought along on the trip.
Do you always carry poetry with you?
No, but I was thinking, never mind. Truth is, I really wasn't thinking at all. I guess I'll head back to the hotel. You want me to return with the others too?
Yes, of course.
Good. I'll get to see you one last time before I have to leave town. Uh-oh. Basketball this class behind.
I'm sure we'll be missing that.
Still half full.
What's wrong?
What does it smell like to you?
I'm no expert on spirits, but it smells like,
Tea.
yes, tea.
That old baker, he was just pretending.
You have to wonder why a guy would do that. Pretend that way.
Hard to say. I'll see you later then. After Miss Dunweaver finishes her nap.
I'll call you when we've had a chance to sort things out. There's a lot to think about.
Sometimes too much. Bye, Mary.
Author Anonymous? I know you're all anxious to hear Miss Downweaver's decision.
That's putting it mildly.
Was it hard to choose, Miss Downweaver?
Easy.
So you're saying one candidate stood out above the others?
I'm not saying anything.
Miss, will you be the one making the announcement? Yes, but first I'd like to thank everyone for taking the time out of their schedule.
Phone again, sorry. Hello? No, this is not a good time. Look, I told you I'd call you when you decided, right? I don't want to hear it, sugar. For the last time. Do not call me again, Larry.
Larry?
Did I say Larry? I meant Lori. I made a mistake, that's all.
Yes, like confusing whiskey with tea.
And how about those ex-wives of yours, Roscoe? Were they all cross-dressers?
Hey, now, wait a second. I got a reputation to keep up here.
Like what? That you're a tough guy womanizer? Some reputation.
Who's Larry?
It doesn't matter, Miss Downweaver. Mr. Drake isn't the only one here with something to hide.
I can't speak for all the others, but my life is an open book. Paris one day, London the next, New York and LA. I'm sure you've seen the publicity notices in the gossip columns all the time.
Just as we see the stories placed by Mr. Drake's PR firm.
It's hardly the same. Secrets. Didn't I say everyone has them? Which proves the universal appeal of a good mystery.
While researching all of these for Miss Downweaver, I discovered quite a lot of unpublicized information. But don't worry, because we won't be judging any of you by that.
I believe you insinuate more than you know.
I know that you don't actually fly off to all those exciting places, because you're just a housewife.
Iowa?
Or at least you were a housewife before your divorce. Now you're a single mother raising 2 teenage boys. Charlotte Ascot is, of course, a pseudonym.
So I'm not the only one here under an assumed name. All right, it's true. I needed the money and I found I could write romance novels. The public persona was necessary just so I could stand out from the crowd.
You're as big a phony as Roscoe with his runaways.
Hey, those marriages were real. They just didn't exactly work out.
Got a little crowded in the closet, didn't it?
Who's in the closet?
No, Miss Dalweaver, everything is under control.
Miss Dalweaver, you and I have something in common. We both like to stay out of the limelight, behind the scenes, discreetly going about our business.
Except what? Except for your film career.
You were an actress?
What movies were you in?
You wouldn't recognize any of their titles. Because Miss Dalweaver had a career in adult entertainment.
I knew I'd seen you before.
I'm not admitting anything. But anything that might have happened in my past was when I was young and desperate.
Miss Myers was desperate for about 5 years.
And you had the gall to call me sleazy. Everything I merely wrote about, you were doing. Well, we've all been through a lot to get to where we are today. That's something we should all be able to at least agree upon.
I never sold my body.
Who would buy it?
You people have no integrity, that's your problem. And it shows up in your writing, which is just as phony as your name.
Hey, my name really is Roscoe Drake.
And my name is really Wallace Crandall, but I'm more careful with what I do with it.
As opposed to what you do with Stephen Zephyr,
Stephen Zephyr.
the name under which Mr. Crandall has written several science fiction novels.
Science fiction.
Robots and ray guns?
Alien monsters.
Where?
You're so
I had to make a living. There were only so many fellowships or writers' retreats. I had to make some actual money.
Oh yeah, everybody's got an excuse.
But that wasn't really me writing that stuff. That was Stephen Zephyr. I'm Wallace Crandall. I write literature. I've been published in the New Yorker. Mr. Rembert, I'm sure you've read my stories there.
I must have let my subscription lapse.
I'm not following any of this, Meredith.
It's all about truth, Miss Downweaver, and truth is very important in every situation. Wouldn't you agree, Porter?
You're very thorough. Now I know why you were expecting someone older, greater, and tweedier. I better confess before I'm exposed too. I'm not really Porter Rembert.
The plot thickens yet again.
Who are you then?
And what are you doing here?
Will someone tell me what's going on here?
I worked out for Porter at the Times. I'm just a copyist. I overheard him talking about a large writer's grant and how he was invited to participate in it. I also heard him laugh off the information and toss it in the trash. That's when I retreated and called over here, pretending to be him.
Why did you do it?
I thought I might be able to sneak some of my own writing into the competition.
So you're a writer also?
A poet. But when I heard about Miss Downweaver's discouraging opinion of poetry, I knew I didn't stand a chance.
You still haven't told us your real name.
Rick Tolliver.
Rick Tolliver.
Who's Rick Tolliver?
That name sounds familiar.
To me as well. I think I've read some of your work in the Paris Review.
You were published in the Paris Review?
More often my work shows up in poetry journals that pay contributors copies. So when I heard about Miss Downweaver's grant, I momentarily lost all normal reason. I apologize, Miss Downweaver.
Oh, forget it. I still don't know what the hell it is.
I'm especially sorry for deceiving you, Meredith, or trying to deceive you. Yes, I didn't do a very good job of it.
You did a better job than you know.
Everything else that happened, though, that was real. That was honest. Can you forgive me?
I do. Honestly.
I should be taking notes.
I should be taking a nap.
You already took a nap.
who has the winning ticket and who goes home the loser.
You can't lose what you never had.
Oh, no, that's very profound, Stevie Z. Who said that? Some alien from another galaxy?
Perhaps we should conclude our business.
Oh, please do.
Miss Downweaver has decided to accept Mr. Rembert's suggestion. That is, Mr. Tulliver's.
Mine? What? Oh, yeah, yeah.
The $100,000 grant will be divided among you equally. Each of you is going to receive $20,000.
Wonderful. That's very wise.
That's the most I've ever made from writing.
Wait a minute, there's 4 of us. It should be 25,000.
I'm counting 5.
You mean, oh, no, Miss Downweaver, I couldn't possibly accept it.
25 grand apiece it is.
Everybody take your money and go home.
A check will be sent to each of you within a few days. And now, since Miss Downweaver is tired, I'll ask you all to take one last van ride back into town. Miss Downweaver hopes that this grant money will encourage you and that all of your writing careers will continue to prosper.
Thank you very much, Ms. Brownweaver.
You're a dame and a half.
I'm very grateful.
I can't tell you how much is.
Oh, get away from me. All of you. Move out. Go.
You won't let us thank you?
Write a letter. You're all writers, aren't you? Strangest bunch of people I've ever run into. I don't know why they don't just go away and leave me alone. Are you still here?
Thank you all again for coming. Greg, may I speak with you for a minute, please?
You got a trip to the woodshed coming to you, kid.
I suspect it won't be the woodshed for a hill end up. There you go, Charlotte, turning to the last page again.
Goodbye to Stephen Zephyr. I'm sending him into hyperspace.
It was nice meeting you, Miss McCoy.
Yeah, same here, pal.
Have a safe journey home.
Home to Keokuk, Charlotte? I doubt if they'll be showing one of your movies on the plane.
Oh, no, a satisfying chapter.
I feel I should apologize to you again, and again.
In a way, it was intriguing. Instead of the real Porter Rembert when I opened the door, there you were, a man of mystery, entering my life.
Well, I hope I have. Entered your life, that is. I mean, I want to.
It might be a little difficult considering the circumstances.
Well, that's why I turned down the $20,000. It's funny, though, since you must have told Miss Downweaver I was a fraud, I'm surprised she wasn't angry with me. Instead, look what she offered me. And she doesn't even like poetry. She really is a remarkable and benevolent woman, despite seeming so unbenevolent.
It's not the grant money that makes things difficult between us. I don't know what kind of a future there can be for a relationship that began in deception.
But you said you forgave me. What more can I do to make things right with you?
It's more the other way around.
What do you mean, Meredith? Or do you want me to go back to calling you Miss McCoy?
Why don't you call me by my full name? Meredith McCoy Downweaver.
Downweaver?
I'm guilty of committing a greater deception than you are.
You're telling me that old lady wasn't Doris Downweaver?
Well, it is, but she's not the Downweaver with the estate and the grant money. She's just my Aunt Doris who lives here with me.
Then this house, and all these books.
Mine.
The great interest in writers?
Mine, not hers.
So the real Miss Downweaver does like poetry.
While Aunt Doris prefers watching game shows on TV. I convinced her how this grant process could be kind of like a game and I got her to play along.
But why the charade?
I'm just not the outgoing type. Miss Myers was right when she said that Miss Downweaver likes to stay out of the limelight, behind the scenes. She just had the wrong Miss Downweaver.
But I don't like the wrong Miss Downweaver.
You have me. Who can resist a mystery and a romance? Great literature is filled with both. What else is Jane Eyre?
Even if you square Charlotte Bronte with Charlotte Ascot, throw in a little T.Y. Myers mystery, wrap it in Wallace Crane's precious prose. Where does that leave Roscoe Gray?
Walking down a rain-slick street at midnight, with a saxophone playing in the background, and a strange woman waiting for him in the shadows of a doorway. Woman named Larry. I shouldn't have said that. Do you think I'm awful?
Are you kidding? As Roscoe would say, you're my kind of novel.
County Community Theater presents this year's nominees for the Best in a Pickering Original Production. And the nominees are Irene Grimes Butler as Doris Downweaver,